Good morning and welcome. We are so happy you're joining us for worship today. If you would like more information about our vibrant congregation, please fill out a visitor form on our website at www.unitytemple.org. Or you can reach out to me directly. My name is Tina Lewis, and I may be reached at tlewis@unitytemple.org. I'm happy to set up a Zoom meeting with you or arrange a phone call. Following service, we hope you will join us for our social time at Community Hour. A link may be found in your order of service. Also, on Sunday, September 19th, our membership committee will be hosting a newcomer meet and greet from 1 to 2. For more information about where we will be meeting and how to register, again, please contact me at tlewis@unitytemple.org. Thanks and enjoy the service.
Good morning. I'm Marty Swisher, Music Director here at Unity Temple. Today's cellist is Alex Poltavchenko. Alex is from the Ukraine and is currently studying at Roosevelt University's Performing Arts Conservatory.
Stephen Lee. I've been a member of Unity Temple since 2009, and I serve on your board of trustees. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone to join in our Zoom community hour immediately following the service. The link can be found in the e-beacon or Friday's email, or you may send an email to tlewis@unitytemple.org to request the link. Every week, we remind ourselves of our congregation's core values: connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. Our mission is to embody these core values in our daily lives by welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. Nurturing wonder, this core value, means that we encourage and celebrate a sense of wonder within everyone. Here at Unity Temple, we create opportunities for spiritual deepening, questioning, and growth. Today, in particular, marks the beginning of our religious education program for young people. If you or your child joined us, we hope they had a good time and look forward to a great year. If you have any questions about our program or wish to volunteer, please contact Reverend Gage or Val Ridenauer. We are so glad that you are here with us today. We hope you find the service inspiring and meaningful. I invite you now to take a moment to greet one another, either virtually in the chat or in the sanctuary for those of us who are here.
Isla is 3 and she loves baby monsters and she loves pumpkins.
I'm Ruby. Hi. I'm Ruby and I'm 5. I love my family and I like ice cream.
We invite you to light your chalice along with us.
I allow you to light your chalice along with us.
What are you going to say?
We
are Unitarian.
Vocalists. Unitarian vocalists.
This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands.
We take care of the earth and each other. And helping hands.
There are things that can be difficult for us to hear. Things about what we have done or how we have behaved and how we may have harmed someone. Things about incomprehensible tragedies and how nothing will ever be the same. Things that reveal a side of our country, our community, our loved ones, or even ourselves that we never would have suspected before. This community is a place where we can hear these difficult things and be held as we struggle to make sense, as we endeavor to live into the new reality that has been revealed. It is a place, too, where we can tell each other these difficult things in love, with hope that the temporary discomfort will lead to greater growth. For this is what transformation, what the beloved community requires of us. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, and wherever you are in the world, come, let us worship together.
Join us in our first hymn we sing now together, number 67 in the Gray Hymnal. We sing now together our songs of thanksgiving, rejoicing in the goods which the ages have wrought, for life that unfolds us and helps and heals and holds us, and leads us yonder goes once where once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labor, their sorrow, their pain, the oppressed befriending, our ampler hopes defending. Their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers, our own lives expanding, our gratitude commanding, their deeds have made immortal
is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Holding each other is the time in our service where we pause to share and reflect on the moments of our lives that have moved our spirit throughout this week. As a community whose mission commits us to inspiring compassion in our lives and in our church, we wish to companion you and sit with you in times of joy and sorrow. To share a milestone or event in your life with us, please email pastoralassociates@unitytemple.org or reach out to Reverend John, Reverend Emily, or myself. These are the milestones and events that were shared with us this week. Our hearts are with Karen Swan's family and friends at her sudden but peaceful passing earlier this week. May the memory of Karen bring comfort to all who knew her, and may love's presence be keenly felt as we mourn this member of our Unity Temple family. We recognize and honor the 20th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attack on the World Trade Center in New York City. We hold all the lives lost in that attack and the subsequent wars in our hearts. May we someday know peace. May those impacted by the earthquake in Acapulco, Mexico, find comfort in this time of devastation. Finally, we wish blessings and peace to all those celebrating the Jewish holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Let us hold in our hearts each of these joys and sorrows shared, as well as those unspoken but present in this community, as we enter into this moment of prayer and meditation. Spirit of love and life, the events of 9/11 20 years ago are etched into many of our memories, brought forward by this anniversary. For some of us, we have no memory of this moment that brought us into 2 wars with countless lives lost. It is the only world we have ever known. In the midst of a global pandemic, and on this historic anniversary, we are reminded that humanity has more in common than our differences make it seem. The divine spark that flows within us and through all creation is the strong force of love that holds us even in the most depressing moments. May we hold that love and light during a moment of silence as we reflect on our losses and contemplate the possibilities of peace in the midst of grief and chaos. may love's light guide our actions and words as we do the good and right work to bring justice and peace into our world. Amen.
I have a story today called Gershon's Monster. It's retold by Eric Kimball, and the pictures are by John J. Muth. The city of Constanza stands on the shores of the Black Sea. Many years ago, a man named Gershon and his wife Vega lived there. Now, Gershon was not always the best person he could be. True, the mistakes he made were not huge. They were common, ordinary things: a broken promise, a temper lost for no reason, a little untruth told here and there. But unlike most people, Gershon never regretted what he did. He never apologized or asked anyone's forgiveness. This way of behaving became a habit. Gershon paid no attention to how he treated others, and he didn't care. For he could shed his mistakes and thoughtless acts like a dog sheds fur. Every Friday, Gershon swept them up and tossed them into the cellar. Then once a year on Rosh Hashanah, he stuffed them into a sack, dragged the enormous bundle down to the sea, and tossed it in. But selfishness and thoughtless deeds are never disposed of so easily. There is always a price to pay. Now, Gershon was a baker, an important man in town, but he and his wife were childless, and they wanted a child more than anything in the world. One day, Gershon's wife heard of a tzaddik, a wonder rabbi, who lived in the town of Kuti. "Perhaps the tzaddik can give us a child," Vega said to her husband. "I will go to Kuti and see," Gershon answered. He harnessed his horse to the wagon and set out. The journey took many days. Gershon asked a stranger how to get to the tzaddik's house. Of course, he didn't say, "Thank you." When Gershon arrived, he barged through the door without knocking. The tzaddik was in his study. "My wife and I want a child," said Gershon. "I hear you can help us. Name your price, I'll pay." The tzaddik frowned and said, "One does not buy children the way that one buys chickens. But your wife is a good woman. For her sake, I will see if anything can be done." He closed his eyes and began to pray. Gershon fidgeted impatiently. The clock on the wall ticked away the minutes. At last, the tzaddik opened his eyes. "Be thankful for all that you have. Do not ask for more." "What kind of an answer is that?" Gershon said. "If God cannot make me a child, at least tell me the reason why." The tzaddik's eyes searched the depths of Gershon's soul. "Did you think you could live so thoughtlessly forever? The sea cries out because you have polluted her waters. God is angry with you. Accept God's judgment. Your recklessness will bring your children more sorrow than you can imagine." "I will take that risk," Gershon said selfishly. "Foolish man, I will do as you ask, but you will regret it." The tzaddik took a piece of parchment and wrote upon it with a quill pen. After the ink dried, he folded the parchment in half and gave it to Gershon. Have your wife wear this around her neck. In 1 year's time, she will give birth to twins, a boy and a girl. They will be all you desire. They will be with you for 5 years. And then, Gershon said, what strange prophecy is this? If something is going to harm my children, tell me now so that I can protect them. You cannot protect them, the tzaddik said. On the morning of their 5th birthday, they will go down to the sea. He paused. Enjoy your precious children while you can. Do not ask for more. Gershon threw himself at the tzaddik's feet. What will happen if the sea, he pleaded, at least give me a sign. The tzaddik spoke with a steady voice. The day you put 2 stockings on 1 foot and storm around the house looking for the missing stocking is the day your children will... Enough! I can say no more. Gershon kissed the tzaddik's hand. Holy man, you have saved my children's lives. I will remember your words and be watchful. Furthermore, I will repent for all my wrongdoings. The tzaddik shook his head. You will forget everything as soon as you return home. Go now, unhappy man. I can do nothing for you. Gershon returned home. Just as the tzaddik predicted, he soon forgot everything except the promise of children. Fega wore the charm faithfully. In a year's time, she gave birth to twins. They were the most beautiful children they had ever seen. They named the boy Joseph and the girl Sarah. They grew up healthy and strong. They spent whole summers at the beach, running on the sand and swimming in the sparkling water. And Gershon went on behaving as recklessly as ever, sweeping his thoughtless axe into the cellar, and once a year on Rosh Hashanah, he stuffed them into a sack and dragged them down to the sea. 5 years passed. One August morning, Gershon awoke with the sun pouring in his window. It was scarcely 8 o'clock, yet the air hung heavy with heat. He reached for his clothes. He pulled on his shirt, then his trousers, and finally his left stocking. The heat made his head swim. He sat down on the bed to collect himself, and without thinking, took his right stocking and drew it over his left foot. Then he started to put on his shoes. Where is my other stocking? He grumbled when he noticed that his right foot was bare. Who has taken it? He roared as he stormed through the house. Fega laughed. No one has taken your stocking. Look at your feet. You have got 2 stockings on 1 foot. Gershon's face suddenly turned pale as he remembered the tzaddik's prophecy. Where are the children? He cried frantically. At the seashore, where they always are. As soon as Gershon heard the words, at the seashore, he ran out the door. Come back, Fega cried. You forgot your shoes. But he had no time for shoes. He tore down the path to the beach. Dear God, he cried, let me not be too late. And then he saw them, Sarah and Joseph, playing at the water's edge. He cupped his hands to his mouth and shouted, come away from there! But he was out of breath, and his voice did not carry far. The children waved and went back to their play. Sarah chased Joseph into the water. All at once, the sky grew dark, as if a cloud had covered the sun. But it was no cloud. Gershon saw it rising from the sea, an immense black monster covered with scales like iron plates, and on each scale was written one of Gershon's misdeeds. Father, save us, the children cried out as the monster came toward them. Gershon ran as he had never run before. He pushed the children aside and threw himself down before the monster. Looking up into the creature's glittering eyes, he begged, he pleaded for forgiveness. I know what you are. You are my pride and selfishness coming back to me, just as the tzaddik foretold. Please have mercy. Spare my children. Why punish them for my thoughtless deeds? Take me instead. For the first time in his life, Gershon truly felt sorry for all of his wrongdoings. Heartbroken, he kneeled before the monster and awaited his end. But it never came. The monster rose into the air like a great cloud. Its scales melted into raindrops that fell like a summer shower, cleansing the sea. Gershon carried Sarah and Joseph home to breakfast. The whole family blessed their food and offered thanks for God's mercy. Then Gershon went down into his cellar and scrubbed each crack and corner until every trace of his old ways were gone. He scrubbed his soul, too, and it shined like a pair of Sabbath candlesticks. Never again did he throw another bundle into the sea, and never again did he see the monster. When Joseph and Sarah grew up, they made sure to tell this story to their children every Rosh Hashanah, as I am now telling it to you. Remember it. For if you keep your soul clean, your best self will always shine through as surely as raindrops cleanse the sea. The end.
Growing up, I always wanted to live in an old house. I spent many of my formative years in a 1980s suburban cookie-cutter house on a 1980s cookie-cutter suburban block. When my spouse and I moved to Minneapolis, for the first time, we bought and lived in an older home. This one was built in the post-war 40s, was very solidly built, and everything had been built to last. It had been well maintained and just needed a little TLC every now and then. Then we moved into a larger home from that same era, but this one was what is commonly known as a fixer-upper. Like many old homes, it too had been built to last, but it hadn't been appropriately maintained. We learned firsthand about the concept of deferred maintenance. First, when the deck was collapsing and the faucets in half the bathrooms didn't work, including the shower. And then there were the foundation issues. Oh my goodness. We refer to that house now as the money pit, or the monster house, or sometimes simply that beast we lived in for a while. Since then, we've paid less attention to the ages of the homes that we've lived in and more attention to how they've been maintained. Because we learned the hard way that a house that has had repairs and maintenance deferred is a whole different level of stress than a house that just needs a new coat of paint or even a kitchen or bathroom update. Deferred maintenance. We know this metaphor when it comes to physical space. I know many of you know this metaphor from this beautiful and high-maintenance building I am standing in right now. You learned it when the ceiling literally caved in on you. The thing about deferred maintenance is we often do it because we think we are saving costs or saving time. And perhaps this is true in the short term, but in the long term, deferred maintenance becomes expensive at best, deadly at worst. But even in the middle, between the best and the worst, there are dangers to deferring maintenance. For instance, you may end up in reactive mode, just attending to the most urgent crisis right in front of you. The emergency repair, which is usually more costly than it would have been if it had been handled in a timely fashion. Being in reactive mode can make you defer other important repairs due to lack of time or money from dealing with the crisis. Another danger is that you may end up feeling backlogged and overwhelmed, feeling like you can never catch up. And this, in turn, can hurt your morale, as you may feel pressure to catch up on maintenance while contending with limited resources. And, of course, if it goes on for too long, you may find yourself at greater and greater risk of the whole system collapsing. Deferred maintenance. It sometimes seems necessary in the short term, but can be devastating in the long term. So, as it turns out, this is true not just of buildings and physical structures, but in many other areas of life as well. In our message for all ages, we heard the story of Gershon and about how year after year he deferred spiritual maintenance required by Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur until his sins became a monster that threatened the life of his family. It never would have gotten that far if he had just atoned for his sins each year. Communal worship is also a form of spiritual maintenance. When we defer it for too long, we feel it in our hearts and in our spirits. This is why so many of us are struggling right now and want to return to in-person worship. Our spirits are crying out for sitting here in these pews together, for singing together, for sharing an experience together in the community that we love. As engaging as online worship can be, it is rough to compare it to the feeling of being a part of something larger that worshiping together in person can bring. You'll hear more about this next week when we announce when and why we will be coming back together in person for in-person worship in a few weeks, even if the pandemic numbers aren't really where we want them to be. Watch your email for details. In addition to spiritual maintenance, we know relationships need maintenance. Relationships are like gardens which need tending, but if we neglect them for too long, if we defer maintenance on our relationships, we may find that they are eventually at risk of withering and dying. We defer maintenance on our relationships to our own peril. We also defer maintenance culturally all the time. We kick the can down the road, meaning we put off confronting a difficult issue or making an important decision, often continuing to kick the can down the road again and again and again. I think about this a lot when we talk about reparations for American descendants of slavery. Can you imagine how things would be different today if the freedmen had gotten the 40 acres and a mule they were promised more than 150 years ago? How different Black generational wealth would look. But instead, that promised land was returned to the white landowners, the very same people who had declared war on the United States. Justice deferred is justice denied, the legal saying goes. And yet we keep repeating that pattern, deferring justice, and that can't bode well. Physically, spiritually, relationally, and culturally, deferred maintenance causes all sorts of problems. So perhaps it shouldn't be surprising to you when I say that this applies to institutions as well. Institutions like Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist Congregation. One of the things that has become clear to me in these first 6 weeks as your interim minister is that there's a lot of deferred maintenance that has gone on here. And I'm not referring to the buildings, but to your governance and to your structure. Earlier this year, the staffing situation was close to total collapse. The board called together and supported a new personnel committee, which has been meeting every other week for much of this year. They have been examining staff salaries, some of which are abysmally out of sync with fair compensation standards. They have been examining benefits, trying to make sure that you, the congregation, treat your employees in a way that lines up with your values. And they are working hard on a personnel handbook that outlines things like what a staff person should do if they have an issue with their supervisor, a procedure that did not exist in previous editions of the personnel manual that was drafted in 2012, but not given to employees and possibly never actually passed out of draft mode. On top of the personnel situation, this congregation is responsible for 3 buildings, 3. But you don't have a building committee anymore, and you don't have a sexton. Elizabeth Plummer, your Director of Operations, and the Finance and Investment Committee, the F&I Committee, who also usually meet twice a month, are handling the buildings on top of their other work, and they're getting burned out on it. And morale around the buildings is low, as both Elizabeth and F&I feel pressure to catch up on maintenance while contending with limited resources and confusion around what is the responsibility of this congregation and what is the responsibility of UTRF, which is the Restoration Foundation. The current situation is not sustainable, and it is rapidly reaching a crisis point. Another area of deferred maintenance in the congregation can be seen in the structure of the congregation. Because of the rapid growth of the congregation in recent years and the need to adopt a new structure more suitable to a large congregation, The program council was disbanded a while ago, but unfortunately nothing was put in its place to allow the more than 70 committees, groups, and teams to communicate with each other. So you have all these little clusters of community all over the place, many operating in a silo, not communicating or even aware of what others in the congregation are doing. Can you imagine how strong these groups would be if they were more regularly operating together, collaboratively, working on projects together to advance the mission of the congregation? Which leads me to the final example I want to share, though not the final example you might find. This congregation has also deferred maintenance on your governance structure. Many of you recall that you adopted a form of governance called policy governance a number of years ago, but really you're just using it in name only these days. There's really nothing about the way Unity Temple runs that conforms to policy governance. And much of the reason for this is because for at least the past few years, the board has been so absorbed in crisis management that governing has taken a back seat. Crises, many of which occurred because of ongoing deferred maintenance. And as governing was deferred, you are now facing a governing crisis, which the board is navigating boldly and bravely. Friends, I am sorry to tell you this. There is a lot of deferred maintenance here at Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And I don't say that to point the finger or to lay blame. There are very good, solid reasons for why you find yourself in this position. And it's not something that you just stumbled into in the last year or the last 5 years or even the last 20 years. I've heard stories of deferred maintenance of this congregation as an institution that goes well back to even before the turn of the millennium. And so now you're in a place where your leaders are being reactive. They've spent so much time and energy just attending to the crisis in front of them, the emergency repair that is more costly than it would have been if handled in a timely fashion. And it's rough for your leaders to prioritize the multiple crises facing them. Many of your leaders are finding themselves backlogged and overwhelmed. It's not sustainable in the long term for a volunteer organization to have committees that meet every 2 weeks to try to catch up. Risk of volunteer burnout is high. And when these same volunteers are sometimes then put through the ringer for their leadership, it then hurts morale, which makes it harder to get volunteers, harder to find people willing to serve on the board or some of these key committees, which then puts the whole organization at risk of failure, of the whole system collapsing. Okay, that might seem a bit dire and a bit hyperbole, but however you look at it, Unity Temple is faced with some really important questions to ask yourselves as a congregation in the coming weeks and months and years. Whew. Okay. So, there is the so what part of the sermon. Now let me tell you about the now what. The thing about deferred maintenance is that unless the structure has literally fallen apart or the monster has indeed eaten your family, you can still fix it. Whether the needed maintenance is manifesting physically in your spiritual life, or in your relationships, or in our society, or in an institution like Unity Temple, it is not too late. It will take time and energy and attention in order to repair. And friends, you will soon find out that it will also take a financial investment, the likes of which may surprise many of you. That will be our work together for the next 2 years. But it isn't just my work, I want to make that clear. It's yours. My job is sort of like the inspector who says, yes, the termites are damaging the structural integrity of the foundation. It will be up to you to actually bring in the exterminator and replace the rotten structure. I do have names of some reliable contractors to give you, so don't fear. You aren't on your own. And indeed, in addition to your plucky interim minister, the congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association want you to succeed, and they will do what they can to support you. I want the same as you want, for Unity Temple to be a beacon of our liberal faith. And I have every confidence that you can do that. You love Unity Temple Unitarian Universalist congregation. You love the people, you love the music, you love, well, many of you love the building, not all of you. You love the social justice work. You love what the congregation stands for and how hard it tries to live up to its values. This is a congregation blessed with abundance. So many people who care so deeply and are deeply committed. So many financial resources out there available in a pinch. You know that this growing congregation matters in your lives and in the lives not just of those in Oak Park, but in much of Chicagoland and even beyond. And so I invite you, love on your volunteers and your leaders. Thank them for the difficult work that they are doing to encourage the congregation towards more health and more proactivity. When you are asked to volunteer or to give to the annual fund drive in a few weeks, dig deep into yourself with the knowledge that it is not too late for you to turn this fixer-upper into a move-in ready gem. May it be so. Blessed be.
Hello, my name is Michelle Collins. I'm a retired community development banker with over 30 years of experience in lending and providing financial information in the greater Chicago area. I am here today on behalf of the Leaders Network of Chicago to talk about an exciting new initiative to establish a credit union for the west side of Chicago. The point of this credit union is to provide superior financial services to its members. Many of the members are located in low-income and minority communities, which are full of unbanked and underbanked residents and business owners, served by title companies and currency exchange and other high-fee institutions. The credit union actually aligns very well with the mission of the Leaders Network, which is to create flourishing communities with independent leadership, economic justice, and equal opportunity for all. Your support of this initiative will provide the seed money that is needed to get this up and running, to hire a consultant, to pay for a business plan, and to hopefully have the credit union running for a couple of years without an expected profit. It's a very important mission that aligns very well with that of the Leaders Network. For more information about this exciting initiative or to donate, please send a check directly to Unity Temple Church, attention for the Leaders Network Credit Union, or you can go to our website, theleadersnetworkchicago.org. Thank you so much for your time and for this opportunity, and may what you give bring joy. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Before we sing our final hymn, I want to mention that our anthem this morning was sung by our friend Joel Chapman, a singer, songwriter, composer from San Francisco, who's a very active UU musician. We're very grateful to Joel for bringing his music to us today. He is an active and passionate advocate of accessibility, and he is a lover of public transportation. Now, our final hymn, number 1044 in the Teal Hymnal, Eli, Eli.
We sang this morning of community now in the making. We sang of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, the workers, the seers. We sang truly of the life of this congregation which collectively enfolds us, this congregation that helps and heals and holds us. May we conquer this monster created by deferring maintenance with our love and with our commitment. And may we dedicate ourselves to care for this beloved congregation that means so much to so many of us here and beyond. Go in peace.